Welcome back. This video comes to you from Valuetainment. If you guys don't know who Patrick Bet David is, you guys are living on Mars. And he's going to be interviewing Sheriff Judd in this video. And they're talking about Sonia Massey. It's actually a long interview, but this is just a clip of that. I don't usually do these types of videos, but this is going to be easy, folks, because I know about policing. I know about policing more than Patrick Bet David. This guy knows his shit on a lot of shit. But I know more about this topic than he does. I'll go on that show. I've been on David Nino Rodriguez a few times. I've spoken at a university. A billionaire reached out to me because he loves my work. When I went on David Nino Rodriguez podcast, I thought I was gonna get hammered over there because I'm talking about police accountability. But I was able to go over there and talk to a Back the Blue crowd and gain their support. A lot of the comments, that video was taken down off his channel, but if you went through the comments, non-stop, get this guy back on. He knows what he's talking about. He's well spoken. He knows a lot about this topic. I was talking about things like reasons cops shouldn't use terminology and stuff like sergeant, lieutenants, because these are military terms. We're not at war with the people. That shit was eye-opening for Nino Rodriguez and his viewership. I can blow people's minds with what I know. So let's get right into it and we'll pause for some comments. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys want me to do more videos like this. I am not a lawyer. You don't need to be a lawyer to know the law, okay? It's important that we know this. We live in the age of information. How much longer are we going to need lawyers? In what year will they become obsolete, right? AI is getting better and better every day. We have ChatGPT to help us write up lawsuits and certain things. Yeah, I know there's flaws. But I pay attention and I listen to people like Ray Kurzweil and what he's talking about. You know, a lot of people in Joe Rogan's interview with Ray Kurzweil, in the comment section, they were saying things like, this is the most boring interview I've ever watched. I can't watch this. It takes Ray Kurzweil exponentially a long time to answer. Let me just say this. That was my favorite Joe Rogan podcast ever, because what I feel like I learned from just listening to this dude, whoa. Mind-blowing. If you guys were to follow along what's going on with artificial intelligence, where we're at, where we're going, the internet already recognizes my personality. I'm not kidding. I can show you.
Sonia Massey. This video comes out just a couple weeks ago. 36-year-old Sonia Massey was shot and killed in her home by Deputy Sean Greyson. And I like when you say, if we do something wrong, we'll talk about it. If we don't, we do. Mistakes are going to be made. This is what you said like an hour ago, right? Rob, if you can play the clip. I'm curious to know how you process this, the interaction from beginning to the end. Go ahead. How do you process this? I'm sure you've seen it.
I've watched it over and over and over and over.
Just so you guys know, I also did a video covering this, talking about what I saw. Everybody is putting out videos and talking about this, and I think it is important to go watch them all, because from almost every video that I've seen, somebody seems to talk about something that somebody else missed. And that is a good thing, because everybody is able to give their opinions, their thoughts, or whatever.
This is your world. What do you think about it?
It is horrible. There is absolutely, you accept this as you see it. Now, I saw a longer version than this, where they were actually at the front door and came back. Mm-hmm. You can tell that she has some issues, mm-hmm. okay? That she's got some potential mental issues. It is horrible. It is horrible. And I am thinking to myself, if you thought she posed a danger, why did you let her go over there?
He started the whole thing with the focus on her mental issues. And it's what I see happen all the time when cops get put in a position. See, one of the things that cops do very, very, very well is to blame shift, deflect, to never, ever, ever, and you know I'm not bullshitting when I say this, to never, ever tarnish the reputation of the department. If it's one bad apple, it's one bad apple. It's never the department. It's never the training. It's never the department. It doesn't reflect on the department. Their wording to make the bootlickers drool over police are gonna save us, that type of mentality, it's orchestrated. And I believe by him starting off this conversation, it's force of habit. Yeah, this guy goes viral every time he stands in front of the podium and he says, "We arrested a bad cop." That's what you should do. Just to prove my point of is Grady Judd, Sheriff Grady Judd, all on the up and up? Why doesn't he have body cams in his county? Answer me that. Shout out to you, Rights Crispy, for pointing that out.
Why didn't the backup go take the pot of boiling water and pour it into the sink, right? When she's holding it and the backup backs up, she sees it and goes, "Well, why are you backing up?" "Well, I don't want a pot of hot boiling water." She's standing there holding it. He says, "Drop the water." Well, it is rational to me that if she drops that pot of hot water at her feet, it's all over her.
I do agree with. When I did my last video, I thought about that. I didn't put it into context. And so I didn't mention it. I didn't say it. The sheriff was able to put that, what I had thought, into context. To me, it seemed like she grabbed the pot and was putting it down on the ground as she was being told. She was complying the whole time. She gave her name. Maybe she didn't want to give her ID. She didn't have to give her ID, but she gave her name, right? And he was still asking her for ID. Greyson was pushing it the whole time, and she was complying, folks. When she did that with the pot, all she was doing was complying.
I saw no overt action of her being a threat to him at all. Zero. It is horrible. It is unacceptable. And as I understand, they immediately arrested him, as they should have, and put him in jail. You can't explain it. Let me tell you what we do at the sheriff's office. We take examples like this and we make them into training films of what never to do. So as soon as my staff finishes that training film, we will take that to all of our roll calls, and then we'll set it on a periodic loop and make our guys watch it over and over and over about the horribleness of that action. That lady needed help, and that was, there's not adequate words. There's not adequate words. To quote my director of training, he said, "Boss," he said, "we can have a series of what nots to do out of this clip."
Out of this clip.
Out of this clip. And we will. My heart breaks for the family, for that lady. That should have never happened. The backup guy, I can only imagine he had to be going, "What did you just do?" There's no way to explain
Can
that.
I ask you a question? I had a friend of mine. I used to train with this guy at Bally Total Fitness back in the days. I don't know if you're familiar with Bally's gyms back in the days. They're no longer in business. And he was the sweetest guy. Maybe the sweetest friend I had. Gentle, just incredible sweetheart. Becomes a cop. And one of the friends of his, who was a cop, was on juice, was on steroids. Okay? So he gets on it as well.
You guys, I believe Patrick Bet David's story right here, because like I said, I've been doing this a long time and a lot of people reach out to me, ex-cops, people that are still in the force, an ex-cop that I cussed out before that ended up working with me. She's dope. She's cool. I've heard this story that Patrick Bet David is saying over and over and over again. I've had cops cry to me on the phone, and I gotta tell you, I know how to lend an ear. I may not have a solution to your problem, but I know how to lend an ear. I understand that sometimes people just at least want to vent, but don't get me wrong, I'm a brainstormer. I do my best to help. I'm trying to brainstorm, I'm trying to organize, I'm trying to help.
6 months later, his energy is a different energy. A year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, all of a sudden, like, I'm seeing like he's becoming an asshole is what he's becoming, right? And I'm like, hey, bro, you got to tone it down, man. The way you're talking to your girl, the way you're talking to your brother, the way you're talking to people, it's a little bit like you're doing it in front of people, and you sound a little bit. Well, let me tell you, between you and I, man, when you become a cop and the badge has got so much, man, the uniform and the gun and all this other stuff, right?
There is something about Patrick Bet David that I also like. Is he's definitely the kind of friend that's going to tell you you're doing good or you're doing bad. Stop fucking around. You're doing this wrong. Change up your style, change up your game, do it right. If you're doing good, he's going to say focus on that, move forward. Rights Crispy Fenton reminds me of that. He's not the kind of friend that's going to sugarcoat and coddle me, and I'll do the same. And I think that's why we appreciate each other.
Steroids is one thing, where it's kind of like cocaine. Makes you feel like you can, you're King Kong, right? For certain people. What signs do you see? Because a part of it, you want cops to be big and intimidating, where they can prevent things from happening, and agility and ability and health and all this other stuff. How do you coach your, folks who are working for you when you're managing the things they put in their body to become in shape.
I can answer that. Patrick Bet David, before Sheriff Judd goes on to answer this, the cops have so many umbrellas of protection. Greyson was emboldened to do what he did because cops have these umbrellas of protection. Patrick Bet David will say, well, San Joaquin, what are these umbrellas of protection? Well, let me answer that, Patrick. Qualified immunity. A lot of people think qualified immunity came about in 82, I think, when it was revised. Qualified immunity was enacted in 1967, a couple years after the Jim Crow laws were repealed. The Supreme Court case is called Pearson v. Ray. A black man went to go challenge cafe or coffee shop on their no blacks allowed, right? He went in there, didn't leave, got arrested, and he was convicted. Took it to the Supreme Court. They overturned his conviction. But the Supreme Court realized that there's gonna be a lot of problems like this in the future. And we gotta give cops this umbrella of protection. And as long as cops are doing their job in good faith and there's no well-established law at the time, because cops are not supposed to, they don't have to know all the laws in the books because there's just too many of them, even though they would do a complete 360 and say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So the Supreme Court realized that if a cop says he's doing his job in good faith, then we can't keep having lawsuits. We have to give them an umbrella of protection, and that umbrella of protection is called qualified immunity. And what I think BLM missed the boat on this one, and the whole George Floyd incident and everything that all happened, I think the attention was turned to an obvious problem like racism. But I gotta say, even if we get rid of racism, wave a magic wand and we get rid of racism, tomorrow we're gonna need signs to say, hey, let's get rid of the narcissistic cops too, because these are personality traits. Is it okay for a cop to be a cop, a person to be a cop if he's narcissistic? But as long as we get rid of the racists, that might even be a more dangerous society, because narcissistics don't give a fuck about nobody but themselves. And that's qualified immunity, folks. Internal investigations, another umbrella of protection. My kid punches a neighbor's kid. His papa comes to my house and says, hey man, the kids were out there playing. Your son punched my son. Well, hang on a second. Let me go inside and let me do an internal investigation. I go inside. My son says, he looked at me in a threatening manner, Pop. So I come out and I said, well, we did an internal investigation and your son was looking at my son in a threatening manner. We're going to call this one justified. There is nothing you can do, but he broke my son's nose. Now we got hospital bills and all kinds of shit, right? It's justified. There's nothing you nor us can do about this. We are not legally responsible. We are not physically responsible. There's nothing to do. You guys just have a nice day and make sure that your son doesn't go around looking at people in a threatening manner. Come to find out, my son was the bully. Right? Like many aggressive cops out there. And then we have police unions. They protect bad cops. Oh, if you don't resign, we're gonna fire you. Why are bad cops allowed to resign, folks? All they're gonna do is just go work in the department next door or just down the road. Bad cops get hired in other departments all the time. Qualified immunity, internal investigations, police unions, just 3 umbrellas of protection that allow cops to get emboldened to behave this way. That's not even scratching the surface. You get arrested, you have to pay for an attorney. Cops get in trouble, guess who pays for their attorney? We do. We the people do. We still have to pay for their high-powered attorneys, and they're expensive. When we the people win, if by some miraculous reason we the people win, guess where that money comes from? The constituents. You, me, your parents, your father's hard-earned dollars. Every time you put on your hard hats and your boots, every time the waitress puts on her apron, every time a school teacher sharpens pencils, all the work that we do, and we pay taxes, and this is what we get. Cops to have another umbrella of protection, Castle Rock v. Gonzalez, DeShaney v. Winnebago. Did you know that cops have absolutely no duty to protect you? Let Uvalde, Texas be the biggest slap in the face of the American people when they think that cops are here to protect us from gangs and cartels and mafia and all that shit, right? Believe you me, we the people, Americans, are some badass motherfuckers. You know, the other day I watched the interview with Dana White, and it was was funny because he was saying something like the guys from Dagestan can come here and fucking beat the shit out of America, right? Because that's all they do. They train and shit like that. And when then I scrolled up, it was my grandson's wrestling. My grandson, let me brag a little bit here, guys. All right, my grandson got second place in the nation in his weight class in wrestling. My son, San Joaquin Jr., he also has a channel, does what I do as well. Is his coach, and my son trains jiu-jitsu and also competes. He will be competing soon. He's already taken first place, second place, and third place in 3 different tournaments, and well disciplined. So when I think about Americans, it ain't just people coloring their hair and transforming themselves, gender. No, America is full of some badasses out there. Look at John Jones. That fucker will kill you either with his hands, his guns, his dogs, his tank, and his goddamn fucking fighter jet plane that he just bought. I'm just kidding on the latter two. Damn, I guess this whole video is about me and what I know about policing and nothing about Patrick Bet-David and the fucking sheriff. Oh, I love it.
The temperament, lowering the temperature, and signs where a guy like this, I mean, listen, this is not for you, bro. I've seen you snap before. This is too much. How do you teach that?
Yeah, first and foremost, steroids are against the law unless they're given in a medical environment.
It's not hard to find it nowadays.
That's right. But if you do that, we not only fire you, but we put you in jail.
What if the doctor's given it?
No, we would not agree with that either.
Is that across the board in America, or is it?
That's in our organization.
Okay, got it.
And it's in most professional organizations.
Got it.
Let me ask you this, Sheriff. Would you allow USADA to come into your department and other departments? You don't allow body cams, Sheriff. Would you allow USADA? Because you talk a good game and you go viral. You talk a good game, but homie, this is San Joaquin right here, dog. I know this shit, homie.
So we teach and coach. We tell everyone you deliver customer service with a sense of urgency. You're honest, ethical, and moral all of the time. And you treat people and talk to people the way you want your mother treated and talked to.
Really, because that's funny, because almost every video, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of videos out there of cops being professional. Don't let me bullshit you. I'll call myself out on that. But there are also a shit ton of videos that we see coming out every single day out of departments all across the nation, from sea to shining sea and everywhere in between. Cops are fucking disgusting, egotistical, narcissistic, condescending, rude, foul, in a hurry, even though they're on the clock getting paid to be there. We got a call, give up your ID. Oh, bro, you got me fucked up. Unless I'm accused of a crime, unless you have reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime, unless you have a single articulable fact to take me into custody, you ain't running me through no goddamn database. Nope. I don't have to help in your investigation. I don't get paid by the tax dollars to be here. I don't. No. I don't have to help. And no, Sheriff, cops are not professionals. So all this shit you're training and all this shit you're talking about, it doesn't happen that way. Yeah, cops sometimes are professional. They do a good job. That's what they get paid to do. We don't have to elaborate and kiss their ass for it. They got houses and cars and trucks and boats even. But what about the times they fuck up? And it is a lot. And some of you guys who live in nice neighborhoods, you like it the way it is. If there's an undesirable in your neighborhood, in your beautiful neighborhood with big palm trees and large fountains in your front yards, when you have an undesirable walking around, you give a shit if the cop violates his rights? Hell no. Take him into fucking custody and get him the fuck out of here, right? You go knocking on the doors around the nice neighborhoods and you ask, when was the last time you got a ticket? We're doing a poll. When was the last time you got a ticket by a cop? 20 years ago, 10 years ago. I've never gotten a ticket. I got a warning about 7 months ago. You go to the hood and you start knocking on some doors. Yesterday, last week, I just got my car impounded. Yada, yada, yada. Non-stop. Broken window policing. I understand why there is a back the blue crowd that's never going to change their mindset. So it's always back the blue. It's always we need the police, yada, yada, yada. I get it. I get your mentality. I told you guys I was going to blow your mind. In reality, I'm trying to blow the mind of one man right now. And that's Patrick Bet-David. I'd love to go on this fucking podcast and talk about some of the things that I know. I would do very well. I used to not be confident in my speaking, my understanding of what's going on, but I'm confident now. I spoke at a university. I was the professor for one day. I've been invited to go to the LAPD training facility and maybe even teach a class. to the cops, the First Amendment of the Constitution. Patrick Bet David, when I started doing this, I began asking cops if they knew and understood the oath that they swore to, if they can state the 5 fundamental freedoms of the First Amendment. None of them could answer it. None of them. Still to this very day, 99.999% cops cannot answer it. We are starting to see cops that are watchers of our channels, not just mine, because there's hundreds if not thousands of channels like mine now. I was one of the first ones to get out there and record. There was only a handful of channels like mine before me, but I didn't want to come in and be a cop hater. I wanted to approach this differently. Sure, I have some videos that are embarrassing to watch. I come in there with my middle finger up, but I changed along the way. I knew and understood that I wanted to make my channel educational. I wanted to ask some questions. I wanted to open up dialogue. I wanted to understand what's going on with them. I began to read a lot of the comments, so I learned a lot from you guys. You guys helped push me, I believe, in the right direction of an understanding of what's happening. So I began to ask cops if they knew these things, and they wouldn't be able to answer. So we began to see a pattern. And guys, this pattern has now come to light. This darkness hidden in plain sight has now come to light. No, I'm not anti-police. I do see, like for instance, you go to watch an episode of Cold Case Files, you're gonna hear somebody talk about cops fucked up the investigation somehow. Sometimes friends or family 10, 20 years down the road have to call them and say, hey man, where are you guys at on this investigation? They gotta dust off the boxes and find out if they can solve this shit. And then there's software out there like CODIS who's solving more crimes than police. I do believe in detective work. I do believe in arresting people that create victims. We get to see a lot of road piracy though. Cops walking up to misdemeanors with guns on their hips ready to shoot and kill. And in this case, there was not even a misdemeanor at all. I know I can go on rants for a long time, guys, but I see a lot what's happening. I see where we're going in politics. It's a fucking dog and pony show. Political parasites creating this narrative. The greatest thing government has ever done is create the problem and act like they're offering a solution. Even if they don't create the problem, they still act like they offer a solution. And all of that's going to be to create new laws. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, have wanted more laws. Both sides. Both sides play the game of giving cops more power and more money. Both sides. You give cops too many umbrellas of protection, they're going to abuse it. Just like they abuse the whole, you have mental issues going on, let's call for an evaluation, right? They think they have jurisdiction over you when they make that call. If somebody gets a call on you, they think you have to throw away your Fourth Amendment. Cops and government don't like the people not just practicing but flexing the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and many of it. And a lot of us don't know anything about the Constitution. Cops don't seem to know the basic 5 fundamental freedoms of the First Amendment, which are freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and freedom to petition your government for a redress of grievances. Isn't it kind of badass how I'm able to spit that out off the top like that? The Fourth Amendment, you have the right to be secure in your papers, persons, effects, and homes. The Fifth Amendment also has 5 fundamental freedoms: fair trial, the right not to self-incriminate, no double jeopardy, and the protection of your property not being taken by the government without just compensation. Did you guys even know what the Ninth Amendment was? Did you know that you actually have rights that are not enumerated in the first 8 amendments of the Bill of Rights in the Constitution? This means that you guys have rights that haven't even been discussed yet. So that means what's not forbidden is allowed. When the law is not clear, the law is supposed to err on the side of the people. But we don't see that. Oftentimes cops arrest people over feelings. And if the cops don't know these amendments and the rights of the people, which they swear to, and I challenge every single one of you to look online for a video of a cop getting sworn in. If he knows the actual oath that he's swearing to, you won't find it. I've looked. I've challenged everyone to look before, and it still don't exist. If the cops swear an oath to the Constitution in order to get that gun and a badge, and they don't know it, could this be the biggest hoax perpetrated on the American people in the history of this country? And I don't believe that we, the taxpayers, should be forced to pay out more money to train cops to learn the Constitution. I believe that cops should know at least the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, before even applying for the job. Think about it, folks. That's like someone applying for a job as a mechanic and doesn't even know what a carburetor is. Think about that. I'm not convinced, Sheriff Judd. I'm not convinced.
If you have to spray them with chemical agent, they have to make you spray them with chemical agent with their conduct. If you have to use a taser, they have to make you use a taser. And if you have to use a firearm, they have to make you use a firearm with their outrageous conduct that's clearly putting your life in immediate danger of death. That was none of that. None of that. So we train it and coach it and train it. And I make no bones about it. You can't hold the community accountable till you first hold the men and women of the sheriff's office accountable. You violate the law at the sheriff's.
Well, you say that he should have been arrested on the spot, but do you believe that he should be convicted, Sheriff?
Office, we put you in jail, fire you if you don't resign, and then I do a press release and I hold everybody accountable. But that's what the community wants and expects. Our trust is through the roof with the sheriff's office because we're there to help. I've got a charity. We raise $300,000 or $400,000 a year, and that charity is to help people in the community that are less fortunate, to make sure that we appropriately honor the men and women who give their life. And in addition to that, we've got another operation where warehouses, when they damage something, they can't sell it publicly. Their deal is keep it confidential and we'll give it to you. We warehouse and give away probably $1 million, $2 million worth of product a year to the different communities that are less fortunate. We go above and beyond. So when you love the community and respect them first, the overwhelming majority of the community love you and respect you back, and that's what we do. And
I think you paint a pretty good picture of yourself, and you do that every time. And I don't want to take anything away from you because I know for a fact that you have arrested bad cops. There still are a lot of flaws in things that you say, and it's not entirely believable. You know, he may have a good heart, but he may be stuck in a system that you kind of lose your moral compass along the way. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and I guess this is what I'm trying to say here. He wears this cloak of being uncorruptible, right? He wears this cloak of a perfect image, and he wants his department to look like a perfect image. So whenever there's a bad apple, it doesn't reflect on the department. It's just one bad apple. But they don't talk about how a lot of these cops become emboldened, like Greyson. You don't talk about that. There's so many umbrellas of protection. And also, to add to those umbrellas of protection, there's also a cloak. I'm gonna use that from now on. Not only do cops have umbrellas of protection, they also wear a cloak of being perfect, right? Cops have this image of wearing that uniform and we should automatically trust them. You guys, if you guys only knew the shit they did here in my area. We're talking about cops stealing drugs from the locker rooms and selling them back to the public. Did they get busted? Hell yeah. Did everybody get busted that was doing it? Hell no. Murders that are unsolved out here. There's a lot going on with cops, and there's a new law in California that came out called SB 1421, and we're supposed to be allowed to be able to get records of cops and the things that they do, the complaints that are filed. So mainstream media or the local news filed some SB 1421 records requests, and what they got back was troubling, to say the least. Cops sending pictures of their crotches to women after they've arrested their husbands and shit on spousal abuse. Easy pickings. Fucking ratted him out and he got caught up. Did something happen to him? Nah, he probably still works at the department. Right now, recently, cops were speeding through the road on a car with no emergency lights. They smashed and killed. There's a deep investigation going on to this. The California Highway Patrol is investigating the Bakersfield Police Department crash. There was 2 cops in that car. Trayvon Cobians took the car out of the department that day. He's supposed to be the driver. But supposedly, the other cop who I've encountered before, and I encountered Trayvon Cobians, and I told him right to his face, I hope you get arrested and charged for murder. He had a smile on his face that went away. He's like, you're San Joaquin, I watch you. Yeah, you're the one that was driving. And I hope they arrest you. Check out the clip. What's up, man? How's it going? I want to request some body cam footage.
So where do I go?
I just put the request in.
All right.
I think I watched your videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that I've been following that case with Mario Lars, right? And so you're the one that was in the vehicle, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pushing for the CHP to investigate that case properly, because if you were the one that was driving, I hope that you're the one that's arrested and charged.
Okay.
because we can't be having multi-agency, a conspiracy to cover up, facts, right?
I'm not gonna comment on that right now.
Yeah, I know. I bet you can. It's just I'm happy to confront you personally and let you know. This is real investigative journalism, folks. Put them boots down on the ground and go out there and confront them. Don't be afraid of these cops. Hold them accountable. Hold their feet to the fire. It changes the game when everybody does it. This shit has spread like wildfire throughout the nation, from sea to shining sea, everywhere in between, across the pond into the UK, Canada, Australia, many other places as well. Auditing and government accountability has to be the most patriotic thing the people can do. Hold your government accountable. Stop voting left. Stop voting right. Stop pointing at the other guys. Stop red, blue, gay versus straight, man versus woman. Stop the civil unrest.
We don't allow law enforcement officers to bulk up on steroids and act like super jerk. If they do, they just can't stay there.
Homie, jacked up cops on steroids are all over this country, bro. Quit it.
And we coach and coach and coach, but we keep records. We keep records, and if people are misbehaving and they don't coach up, they just got to go. It's not.
Can we see those records?
Doesn't mean we don't like you, but you just can't work it.
Can you say it again? So customer service with a sense of urgency. Talk to people and treat people the way your mother wants you to. What was the other three? You said three other things.
Let me. We had orientation once a month. We hire, and I go down, and when I open up orientation, I say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad that you're here today. I want you to be here 25 or 30 years, and here's what we expect of you. You've got to be honest, ethical, and moral all of the time. You've got to deliver customer service with a sense of urgency all of the time. And you've got to treat people and talk to people the way you want your mother treated and talked to all of the time. If you're forced to raise your voice with someone, they have to make you use that tone of voice."
I bet you if Patrick Bet David asked Sheriff Judd if he knew the First Amendment of the Constitution, I'd be willing to put my next YouTube paycheck on that shit, that he wouldn't know it. Guaranteed. Not him, not one cop on his department. You know why I know this to be true? Because I ask cops every day when I'm out there recording. I don't go out there and record every day, just whenever I'm going about and I see cops, I record them. I'm not an ambulance chaser, folks. I go on about my day. I live life. I enjoy life. But if I see police, let's get it. I used to be afraid of police because I used to carry the fire in my pocket, and it was always illegal and always carried a bad stigma. So I was always afraid. Even when the shit was legal, I was still afraid that I would get busted for it. So naturally, I was always afraid of cops. That shit changed. When I started recording them, I felt an empowerment that came over me. I felt I was growing. I was getting stronger. I was getting powerful. It's a natural strength, a movable object, an understanding of my own true worth. When you know your natural rights, you begin to respect other people's natural rights, even if you don't like them. As long as they're not creating victims, as long as they're not hurting kids or stealing your car out of your driveway, as long as they're not making a victim out of you or someone you love or somebody else in public, let them be. If you don't like to see a man riding a tricycle in a rainbow-colored tutu, as long as he's not doing anything illegal, as long as his nuts are not hanging out of the bottom of the whatever.
Let it be, let it be.
If you have to use chemical agent, they have to make you use that chemical agent. If you have to use a taser, they have to make you use that taser. If you have to use a firearm to stop from dying or stop someone else from dying, the folks make the choice for you to use that taser.
When seconds count, cops are minutes if not hours away. That's why the Second Amendment is the most important thing in this country. Shout out to Trey RPM Vietnam, or RPM Trey Vietnam, that dude that does the Second Amendment. He deserves more subscribers. So remind me in the comment section to link him so you guys can go subscribe to him. I learned this from him. The Second Amendment should have been the first because it would have reminded everyone to never, ever fuck with our rights.
Or that firearm. You don't make that choice. And if you don't follow those edicts, you can't work here. And we coach that from day one until the day you retire 25 years from now.
Get me on. I would blow your mind, bro. What do you guys think? I used to be not confident in my ability to bring what I know to light, but I believe I can blow the minds of many people. Not just that, but empower everyone. And I'm gonna read to you guys my caption on my Instagram post this morning. You guys follow me at San Joaquin Valley Transparency on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that shit, because I'm on everything now. And this was actually I'm gonna go ahead and put the thumbnail that I created for my last video on here so you guys can see. What What is the First Amendment? This. There's no better way to learn it. Get offended, but get over it. Learn to direct your anger at those that create the problem, especially if they're offering you a false solution. The greatest thing government has ever done is create the problem and make believe they offer a solution. My master is better than your master. Haha, what a joke. I laugh and laugh at the dog and pony show the political parasites entertain the masses with. So elaborate, masterful, and successful. They have your attention. The media makes millions. The e-begging and giggling from Kamala makes me sick. And Trump wanting to give cops full absolute immunity is possibly the scariest thing any candidate has ever said. Trust me on that. I know the ins and outs regarding police in America, case laws, and policies. I'll debate anyone on earth. Let's go. Other than that, what I teach is an empowerment, and it is absolutely free. That's my sales pitch. I think I was liberal mostly my whole life, turned conservative and cheered on Trump for a few years. But I speak to people. I speak to people like Jason Bassler from the Free Thought Project website and the original Police to Police guy. He's one of the guys that's been around for many, many years. Millions of followers over and over again on Facebook, Twitter. Keeps getting taken down, but he keeps coming back. The dude is resilient, and I learn a lot from this guy. And I've actually had him at my home a couple times. We've gone out to eat. I went to go visit him. He's had me in his home. The coming of together of great minds, right? And I learned a lot from Jason Bassler. Get me on, Patrick. I think I understand the political spectrum a little more than I ever thought I would. For instance, the left, right, the liberals, they seem to want more government. But when that happens, the right comes in, the conservatives, and they back the blue. So who's going to enforce that more government? Then the right complains what the left is doing, and then the left complains what the right is doing, but they continue to do it. They've been doing it for years, and they will continue to do it in the future as long as we all play along. When it comes to cops, they're trying to give cops absolute immunity. And if you don't know what that is, that's qualified immunity times 1,000. You have judges that have absolute immunity. Possibly everybody working in the courthouse has absolute immunity. And it's a system that continues to grow. A sustainable system for the government, but not a sustainable system for the people, because this is supposed to be a free country. And when cops don't know what qualifies a person to be free, then we're lying to ourselves to make believe that cops are here to protect and serve. They're not here to protect and serve. Uvalde reminds us of that. Castle Rock v. Gonzalez, Cheney v. Winnebago reminds us that. Case laws tell us more than what Sheriff Grady will. You see him all the time. He goes viral every time he gets on the podium. Yeah, I not only still get out on the field and record police and put my freedom on the line, but I also seen that I had to do my best to help grow this community. Look, and I'm not going to get into who or what, but there was people in this community who wanted to corner the market. They didn't want anyone else growing. They tried to play tricks on me and try to get me to beef with other small channels so that these channels on the top, that could be the biggest channels that do what we do. Like I said, they wanted to corner the market. It was always fuck the police, they're pigs, yada yada yada. You're half a bootlicker. This guy doesn't deserve to be this. We were here first. Yada 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 yada. Bunch of fucking crybabies. Motherfuckers threatening to come to my house and beat my ass and all kinds of shit. Motherfuckers don't know I'll put them up with you guys. I'm willing to get my fucking ass kicked because I don't believe I'm doing anything wrong. So yeah, one of the channels, me and him got face to face. He was just being a fucking jerk off for no reason, and he thought he was gonna punk me. And that motherfucking channel really is no more. He was the biggest channel in California at the time, but he wasn't a righteous person. I grew up around people where if you didn't come correct, they're gonna call you out on it. So I think that's why I'm naturally that way myself. I call people out on their shit unapologetically, and I don't give a fuck about the repercussions. I may lose a few thousand subs for calling out people that do dumb fucking shit, but I get them back all the time. It probably would have been a million subs by now if I never did that. But man, to me it's integrity. To me it's fucking unafraid of, oh, this guy's popular, so I better not say anything because then my channel's gonna take a hit. I get it, I understand, but some of us work a little different. It wasn't always about me growing to be the biggest, cornering the market. Fuck no. I helped the competition. I helped ask a lot of channels that are like mine, similar channels like mine. They will all tell you that I helped grow this community because I seen the importance of it. There was only a handful of channels like mine, and now we got thousands. And I don't need any recognition for it. I'll let the people speak for me. I'm saying it right now because I want Patrick Bet David to know who the fuck I am. Because I have good intentions, man. And I mean well. And I like the UFC. One of my favorite Patrick Bet David interviews was with Anthony Weiner. If you guys haven't seen that one, go check it out. Fucking boss level. I loved it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, fucking subscribe, all that shit. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.